Hey everyone, welcome to the Blu Wolf Podcast. I'm Willie Cantu. As you know, I'm with my partner in crime, David Sapansky here, and I keep saying every show that this is especially a great show because of the guests that we've been having on. And this one, I cannot say enough about. It kind of, Dave actually asked me about it, kind of hit me by surprise that he had solicited our guest today. And you know, like I guess a child, I kind of got a little excited there because this gentleman is a national hero and a law enforcement legend, no doubt. And I don't want to get long-winded in this because I want to get rolling with him. But we have retired DEA Agent Javier Pena, and as many might know, if you pay attention, was responsible for the taking down Pablo Escobar, one of the largest drug traffickers in our nation's history. And there's a Narco Netflix series about the story and stuff. And we're going to talk about that to see how much of that was true and all. But Mr. Peña, thank you and welcome.
Please, it's Javier. No, it's an honor to be here, guys. And I've known all about your career. So I remember I was in San Antonio. So you guys are legends. So it's always y'all did a lot, and you've seen a lot. And like I said, you were there. So thank you all for your service.
Well, we were talking about, we know, of course, the people that we were talking about, but I mentioned another name that...
I just got to say something real quick.
Yeah.
Your partner, Steve Murphy.
Steve Murphy.
Integral, right? And working with you.
Yeah, we're partners in Colombia.
Right, so we're talking to you.
Right.
We don't want to overlook him.
And I'll mention him. Yeah, Steve and I were partners. Yeah,
we would love to have him here.
Yeah,
I mean, understand.
Yeah, he's he lives. Yeah,
and for this interview to happen so quick, I mean, that was awesome. But Dave and I were talking, and obviously we know you have done interviews before and podcasts, and you know I'll talk to all kinds of people, and I really didn't want to make it seem like the same old thing with you, you know. But one of the greatest things, and I didn't know this, that you're homegrown. You're we're in San Antonio, Texas, and you started out in Texas,
right.
Law enforcement career,
right.
Can you tell us a little bit about?
And I'm from a little town called Hebronville, South Texas, a lot of deer country. I grew up there and graduated in '74. And then I did a little stint with, I went to A&I in Kingsville, which is now A&M, and where I really got started, I took a sociology class, and because there was no criminology, and then my professor, said, "Oh yeah, you want to do an internship?" Like we're talking, and I said, "Yeah." He said, "It's going to be at Huntsville." I said, "Oh, okay, the prison system." I'm 18 years old. So it was summer job, it was money, and I'd get credit for the class. And my first day, I think they were messing with me. They assigned me to death row. And man, I was scared, man. I remember doing roll calls. Some guy goes, "Boom," man, I run, I throw the clip away. But anyway, but I learned a lot, and that's what started. Then I got hired on in Laredo, Texas in '79 with the sheriff's office, and I did 7 years.
And that sheriff was Webb?
Yeah, Webb County, Laredo, Texas, 7 years. And it started at the jail, so I have a lot of respect for people who start off as jailers. It's a hard job, but what helped is that you get to know who all the criminals are. So it really opened my eyes. And you know what? When I was with the sheriff's office, like I said, at the jail, then I promoted to patrol. Ended up as a lieutenant, but I tell people I hated the feds. I hated FBI. I hated those guys who treat us like shit. We had some asshole ATF agents who would come in. You know what? And there was one guy who always real respect with us, and I always remember it was a Texas Ranger, Ramiro Martinez, so famous for the shooting of the tower.
Oh, really?
But yeah, just real respectful. But anyway, so I said, if I ever, join up with the feds, I don't want to be anything like them. So
the tower is UT, right?
Yeah, UT Tower, right, Ramiro.
Yeah, I learned a lot by what not to do.
Yes. Yes,
it makes me better because you see that things that you don't like, and it's like, especially when you have aspirations to.
Yeah, and that's a good point. You learn the way you want to treat people. I mean, and I think in all my career, I've always said, you know what, you treat people, treat them nice. Obviously, there's a couple of exceptions, right? But but anyway. So after Laredo, then I wanted to leave that area, and it's funny now, but it was over some personal stuff, as we know, some relationship stuff, and I said, nah, I think I need to go somewhere else. So I remember the old days at colleges that had bulletin boards where they had posters for job vacancies, and I remember DEA was hiring, and it was like $17,000 a year. I was making $10,000 at the sheriff's office, 77, and I had to ask a buddy, hey, what the hell is DEA? I remember he said, what's the federal narcs, stupid? Don't you know? I said, I don't know who DEA is. So I applied, and after the process, I got accepted, and my first assignment was Austin, Texas, in 1984, and I tell people, wow, Austin was where it was happening. The country music was starting to come alive. The South Congress areas, the George Straits were starting.
So is that somewhere you wanted to go?
Yeah, no, I wanted to go to Houston, LA, Miami. I wanted to get in DEA. You had to do a big city and a small town, that type. So I wanted to get the big city out of the way and to send me to Austin.
You imagine?
And I know people were jealous of me. Who do you know, Peña? You going back to Austin?
People are envious of you.
Yeah, envious. Yeah, because I didn't know. I put in for all the big cities. And what helped? What helped me in Austin was I learned. Because I did everything, you do undercover surveillances, you put cases together, you work with, I was the liaison, the main guy to the Austin Police Department, the narcotics unit. They had 2 narcotics units, and I talk about it and kind of in a sad way, but, I got, really one of my mentors was a sergeant by the name of Lupe Trevino. And if you're in law enforcement, South Texas, later on he became the sheriff of McAllen, Texas. Ended up going to prison for, I think it was a money laundering charge, and really that really devastated me. As we know, guys, we're all in the brotherhood. We help each other out, but when somebody goes wrong, it's not good. Yeah, it sticks. And then. His son was the famous, in McAllen, Texas, they started, the Panama unit. We all remember that one? Oh man, all those guys ended up in prison. His son ended up getting 17 years. What they were doing is stealing drugs from the drug traffickers, stealing money, selling the debt. That was back in 2001, 2002, it made national news.
Right around that time, San Antonio had an incident too. We had 7 offshores that were involved in a state operation of the federal government.
Yeah,
that was right in that 2001.
Yeah, you're right. That was
DEA, wasn't it?
Was it by the FBI?
Oh, yeah, by the FBI. Okay.
Yeah, and this one was set up by the FBI, the one in McAllen, but it was righteous.
So his son was.
His son was the leader of that group, and Lupe gave him permission. I mean, people say now that he knew. I'm not sure, but he got jammed up for money, campaign contribution from traffickers. Giving those traffickers a break.
I had done some training in Hidalgo County.
Yes.
And, they were talking about that.
Yeah, it's a very famous case. And like I said, that hurt because he was my mentor. I learned a lot from him in Austin. But anyway, after Austin, I got sent to Colombia by mistake. I was supposed to go to Mexico, and they sent me to Colombia.
By mistake.
By mistake, yeah. I didn't put in for Colombia. I put in for Mexico.
Was this after the Kiki come out in?
Yes, this was after, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's another, and, usually I don't mention it, but when I was in Austin, my first year, that's when Kike Camarena gets kidnapped in Mexico in 1985. So I had a year on the job when I remember my boss, who was from San Antonio at the time, because Austin answered to San Antonio. He was the ASAC, Joe Toft. Great boss, famous boss. Says, so here we have an agent, we're not sure what's going on, but you speak Spanish? Yes, sir. He says, well, get on a flight. They'll help you with the arrangements, go to Mexico. I said, sir, I don't even have a passport. He said, don't worry, just you take your driver's license. Do I take a gun? I didn't know anything about the federal, the jurisdiction going to Mexico. So anyway, I ended up there, and I ended up in Mazatlan, Mexico, which was the headquarters of Caro Quintero, the guy who kidnapped our agent Camarena. So I was
guy on the squad,
right. He was responsible for the kidnapping, torture, and obviously the killing. So assigned to the group there where we searched for Caro Quintero. So I learned a lot there that was personal. And the things they did to our agent. I mean, instead of letting him die, they would pump him up with adrenaline, not letting him die. I mean, it was just, you don't do
One of
that.
the most brutal.
One of the most brutal.
Tortures.
Yeah, tortures. And everybody in the DEA world has, knows our agent, Kike Camarena, a true hero. Like I said, tortured, killed by the Mexican traffickers. And the irony, Caro Quintero was arrested and he's out. I mean, that's the irony. He was arrested, and this is why I strongly believe in extradition, And if we got, I'm going to be jumping ahead, but when we went after Pablo Escobar, his war, which a lot of people do not realize, was based on extradition. Yeah. His saying was, I prefer a tomb in Colombia than a jail cell in the United States. That was his fight, was not to get extradited. And we'll get into what happened with that extradition, which really started the war. So my first experience was with Agent Camarena, a true hero. And, as a boss later on in DEA, I would tell the young agents, you do not forget, you learn the story of Kike Camarena, and you do not forget.
I told you when we met, I was in college. I was at UTEP. I was in El Paso. And when that happened, it was about 1985, right?
Right,
and,
right.
I remember it impacted me a lot. And
No,
it kind of
it-
solidified at that point in
Right.
time. You're not really sure where you're going to go. You kind of have an idea.
Right,
But it impacted me a lot on what I wanted to do with my life. So.
Yeah, and Agent Camarena is like our patron DEA saint. Everybody knows, he shoots hear the story, because it's a very tragic story. So anytime I get the bandwagon and I just say, you know what, Caro Quintero is still out there, but I mean, he's got to pay for what he did.
It doesn't seem right.
It doesn't. And he was in jail. He should have been extradited. And, the politics, the corruption got in the way. So, anyway.
Willie and I worked together. We're classmates out of the academy, just real quick. And we were working together in one of my last assignments, his last assignment. And I just looked up one day. I was the captain at that place. I looked up. I still had access to the parole system. And I looked up and I sent him something, and I told him Willie was shot in 1991.
Oh.
And the guy that shot him was out of prison. And so the guy did less time than Willie's service to the city.
Oh,
that was just one of the most
did less
remarkable
time.
things.
Yeah, he got 40 years.
Then he got out, what, half, right? 20?
Probably, yeah.
28.
Yeah, and it's kind of a, without getting off, I don't want to talk about myself, but it was...
I just thought the irony of the
right.
situation.
And I'll probably talk about it sooner or later, but it was really a good thing, because it paid my career. I was a year and a half on the department.
Right.
And it shot me up to where I'm at now. But I don't think I'd be sitting here talking to someone like yourself had that not happened, and just the way things went. Obviously, no, permanent disabilities or anything. I have scars and some issues, but nothing major, whatsoever.
Wow.
But yeah, Dave and I are, from the same academy class. he was my commander at a rope, last part. I chewed my ass a couple of times.
Yeah,
doing,
and David had a lot of respect. And I remember that. I mean, I remember meeting you because you were in charge of HIDA. Yeah, I mean, a lot of respect, but and reputation in our world is everything. Y'all had great reputations. As long as and it's like with us, they'll ask you, hey. Good guy, good guy. And if you don't say nothing, it's not
and that's just the way the world really works, right?
Right, that's the way it works.
So getting back to you did some other assignments.
Yeah, getting back, and then, basically when I go to Colombia, the mistake was I was supposed to go to Mexico. They sent me to Colombia. My boss says, you want to fight it? I said, no, I'll go to Colombia. And, we talked about timing, and I get there, and I got partnered up with a senior agent, female agent, good lady. However, her mind, was not, when they said, we're going to help her with Escobar investigation. And Pablo was not really well known in the mid-'80s. I mean, you heard the name, but he was just another drug trafficker. Towards the late 80s, when the name started getting infamous for his terrorism. But anyway, so I started working with her.
Target, and that when you went up there, that was her target.
Right, that was her target. Javier, you're going to help her. She needs a partner. You're a junior agent. Okay, yes, sir. And like you said, I did not know who Pablo Escobar was, but she a good agent. Nothing, but her mind. She started. She started to fall in love with another guy from the embassy. And her mind wasn't into Esquire. It was about getting married.
It's part of the culture that we're talking about. We've seen that happen.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it's like.
And her mind, and all of a sudden, she wanted out of Colombia because she wanted to go get married, which is good.
Sure.
People want. I have all the respect. So I'm thrust into being the main case agent for Pablo Escobar. Keep in mind, Murphy, and we talked about it. Steve is not there. Steve doesn't come in till I get in '88, and we talk about it because he gets in '91 when Pablo Escobar surrenders. So he's not there for the first part. So I am. That's what makes this story, pretty accurate.
So you were there for how many years before he got
I was there in '88, and Escobar surrenders
2 years.
in '91. So I did that time, and I got to experience the start of terrorism. As I said, Escobar's name wasn't really, you heard it as a trafficker, but not until he started the terrorism. And I talked about the first war in Colombia, and I call it the first war because it was a war. It was the start of the car bombs, and the start of the bounties on police officers. And all of this was based on extradition. So what happened when we started going after Pablo Escobar, I said we wanted to extradite him out of Colombia, but in Colombia, it was unconstitutional. Extradition was not, like I said, it was against the Constitution to extradite Colombia.
Did you already have enough by then to?
We had him indicted in Miami, New York. So when we're looking, and like I said, the first search, I'm assigned, we call it the bloque de búsqueda, the search block, and I'm assigned in Medellin. But I'm only there 2 or 3 days, and I leave back to Bogota because of the danger. And so I would go spend a couple of nights with our counterparts, and we had a specialized group of cops working. And there's a colonel that sticks out, Colonel Hugo Martinez, who was the boss the first time.
Is that the guy in the series that's portrayed as Carrillo?
They tried to portray him, but no, that's
Hollywood.
That's Hollywood. There was no Carrillo.
Okay.
But
Oh, really?
in a sense, it's sort of based on Colonel Martinez, but Carrillo is made up.
In the series, initially, there was someone that resigned.
Yeah.
Forget his name. Like he left his hat in the movie, in the series. Resignation letter on the desk.
Right.
I forget his name, and then Carrillo came after him.
Yeah, Carrillo came after him, which is really Martinez.
Okay.
Carrillo was made up. Anyway, so we worked with Colonel Martinez, and our group was from Bogota, because they were signed in Medellin, and all our job was to go after Pablo Escobar. So I'd be there 2-3 days, but the danger that we were seeing was, wow, I mean, it was bad. The sicarios, and when I talk about sicarios, the assassins, I did not know what a sicario was. What's a sicario? I'm from San Antonio. I came in from Texas, and all of a sudden I learned what a sicario was. And that's one of the things that we never took into consideration when we started chasing Escobar, the sicario world. And Pablo, I tell people, was very charismatic, very smart, charismatic. For example, when he used to recruit assassins, the sicarios, we would hear on the radio, and we were intercepting phones, back then, and we would hear on the radio, meeting at La Terraza, and it's by el patrón, el jefe, doctor. Man, where's La Terraza? We did not know where the Terraza, the terrace was. After Pablo Escobar gets killed, we find out that La Terraza was one of the poorest Catholic churches in a poor barrio of Medellin. And it had a terrace. That's why the nickname was Terrace. So there'd be about 300 of these young thugs all waiting for Pablo. He'd go there, he'd kiss them, hug them. He had money in his car, and everybody, boss, I want to work for you.
Because they were poor, right?
Yeah, this kids were poor, and the example I learned, and during that search, I had to get involved in arresting. We don't have any jurisdiction with DEA, but we broke policies, we broke rules, we never broke the law. That's what, and we always say we had to, yeah. And I'll explain that more, because we weren't allowed to go on operations, but the cops were like, hey, what do? You go. So I had an informant, and she calls, says, Javier, I'll only deal with you. I'm not going to deal with the cops. But one of the main sicarios who's wanted, who's placed a lot of bombs, is at a discoteca in Medellin. But only you. So I told with some of our cops I work with, and Colonel Martinez blessed it. And I said, Javier, you got to go. Okay. So we went up there. She told me where this thug was. He was dancing. I remember go up. So I put the gun. We fought. Luckily, no shots were fired. Backup came in. The guy was arrested. We take him back to the base, and it's an interview I'll never forget. And he started calling me Mr. Peña. He knew who I was with DEA, and he says, you know what? I am 15 years old. He says, me and my mother, who were living in a cardboard box on the side of the street, El Patron saw us, Pablo, stopped, picked us up, took us to a house, gave us money, gave us that little house for me and my mom to live in. He saved our lives. He said, my allegiance, my life belongs to Pablo Escobar. I will die and I will kill for him. And then, he started telling me, those, you heard about bounties, right? When Pablo declared war on Colombia, he put bounties on police officers. And the bounties, because he wanted to kill as many police officers as he could, the bounties started off at $100 for any local policeman. They'd get higher, for captains.
And that would be to anybody that did.
Yeah, anybody they could kill.
Can I ask?
Yes.
I'd heard numbers like he's responsible for the death of over 1,000 police officers.
It's in the thousands. Oh yeah, and I'll give you a number too.
Right, 4,000 people in general.
Yeah, they're way off.
Way off. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so this young thug says, you know what, Mr. Peña, I've already killed 10 police officers. I said, what? He said, yeah. He says, under my belt, under my notch, I got 10 police officers I killed. He says, they're walking a beat. I just go behind them, take my gun out, shoot him in the back of the head, and I go collect my $100.
Jeez.
He said, I've already killed 10. So that attitude, you multiply that by 500 sicarios, that's what you were dealing with.
And that money,
yeah.
1,000, you know.
Yeah, oh yeah, and then he said, you know what, and I always remember, he said, you know, most of my money goes to my mother. As long as she's got food, shelter, I'm happy. What's left over, he says, I'll have a nice pair of jeans, some tennis shoes, and if I have enough, my beer money. That's all. He says, I'll be dead by 22, 23 years old. I'm not going to make it out of the barrios of Medellin, but I will die for my hero, Pablo Escobar. And he told me, he said, he would hug him and kiss him. I mean, it was a prestige to work for Pablo. Like I worked for El Patron. Oh man, it was a status quo. So that was my introduction. And basically what started the war was obviously the bounties. And where Colonel Martinez gets involved, Pablo hated Colonel Martinez because Pablo accused Colonel Martinez of playing dirty, of kidnapping sicarios, torture them to try to find out where Escobar was. So Pablo would write letters, and then it got personal, where Pablo was telling Martinez, hey, I'm gonna go after your family, see how you like it. I'm gonna kill your wife, your kids. He had to move his family into our search block to protect them. Basically, the search block was like an old police base in Medellin.
So can I ask real quick?
Yeah.
So one of the most ruthless, obviously a drug dealer, killer, Pablo Escobar, was upset that Martinez was not playing by his rules.
Exactly. Oh yeah, there would be letters. Pablo would write to the Attorney General, that Martinez human rights violation, which he wasn't. I know Martinez, and that never happened. But Martinez, and I don't think I've said it. I don't think I've ever said it. But Martinez at one point wanted out. He wanted out of the investigation. I think maybe that's where the Netflix story comes in. In fact, I was with him when he went to the general's office, me and my boss, Joe Top, and Martinez tells the real hero in all of this, who never got the credit, is a general by the name of Octavio Vargas Silva in Colombia, a hero. He's the one, and he was the head of police, right? He's the director general. And he's the one who had the vision of forming just a specialized group of guys. Your only job is to go after Pablo Escobar. So he formed it during the first search after the escape, and I'll talk with him. But anyway, so Colonel Martinez goes to General Vargas, and I was there with him, where he says, General, I can't take it anymore. This has gotten personal. Look at the letters Pablo's writing me. He's gonna kill my wife, my kids. I can't handle it. And man, that was a point I remember looking at my boss, Joe Toft, and me, looking at me, and you know what? We convinced him not to leave. I said, we'll try to help you with the protection, because the colonel was hands-on. He was one of those natural leaders. You've had them, right? You had your...
Very few.
Yeah, very few of them, but that people respect them, natural leader. And he decided to stay on, which was like, wow, that was a relief for us. This was in about 92.
So you actually got to see the entire evolution.
Yeah, no, that's why. Yeah, I saw everything, So anyway, so he doesn't leave. Going back to the Escobar story, the first search was the most dangerous, because there was a lot of sicarios, and we had the bombing of the Avianca airline bombing, where Pablo puts a bomb on a commercial airline. 107 innocent people were killed. And
now, why did he do that?
He wanted to kill one person who was not on board. Okay.
No, is it true?
And I'm going to the little fast forward here. After Galan, Galan's going to be major, so I'm going to try to, but anyway, so he puts a bomb trying to kill a guy by the name of Gustavo Gaviria, who was running for president after Luis Carlos Galan gets killed. And he was supposed to be on that flight, and he, at the last minute, does not fly, not knowing that Pablo Escobar had put a bomb on it.
The series portrays it as Murphy telling him not to, right? That he has a hunch that something's going to happen.
Right, yeah. So he's, yeah, and there's a lot of with the series, and if I can be honest, I still haven't watched it. I know more.
Really?
I still know the main parts, but I haven't watched it. Anyway.
Well, you lived it.
Yeah, I lived it. Yeah.
Right?
So yeah, so the first search, we call it the first battle, the first war on Escobar, is when the terrorism is at the worst. Like I said, the car bombs, 10 to 15 on a daily basis. He puts them outside our base when we're on convoys. I experienced a lot of car bombs. Luckily, I wasn't directly hit.
Explosions a day.
Yeah, 10 to 15 a day. Bogota, Medellin, shopping centers, restaurants. When we would leave our convoys, he'd had them on the side of the roads. So that to me was the worst, because you never knew, and that's where a lot of people got killed.
Be a man of the like they called him the Robin Hood,
right?
Yeah, but yet he's blowing people up because they were innocent.
And I know, and you're going to hear that a lot in Colombia, that he was a Robin Hood. Yeah, he built houses for the poor, gave a lot of money to the Catholic Church, but like I said, going back to how many people he killed. Me and Murphy calculated, because we wrote it down, we pretty much calculated 20 to 25,000 people because of the terrorism. And one of his sicarios, a guy by the name of Popeye, is the only sicario that ended up going to prison, and he comes out about 6 years ago. And he himself talks about that the number was closer to 50,000 people by their records. And Popeye himself admits the killing of 300 that he himself killed. He was one of the worst sicarios, Popeye. He died about 4 years ago. And just to
wrap your head around that number.
No, I know, it's just, yeah. And when you look at like I said, to me, the car bombs, the kidnappings, he kidnapped a lot of people, killed them. And I said the Avianca bombing, the DOS bombing. DOS was like the local FBI, put a bomb in front of it because he hated
Javier.
Yeah.
Those were all just citizens.
Citizens, yeah.
Just women.
And there was 2 U.S. citizens what gave us the authority, to go after him.
Commercial airline,
Yeah,
right? Not a private,
yeah.
commercial
Now,
airline.
commercial airline. I remember going from Bogota to Cali. The straw that broke the camel's back was, and I mentioned the name, but everybody should realize, another hero in Colombia, Luis Carlos Galan. He was running for president. And this is in 1989. The elder president, and just for historical buffs out there, Virgilio Barco Vargas's term was coming to an end. And they were pushing Luis Carlos Galan was going to be the new president. And people loved Galan because he was going to extradite these traffickers. He had a history with Escobar before. He knew Escobar was a trafficker. Escobar was trying to be a congressman, but he got to be a assistant congressman, which is appointed. And Luis Carlos Galan finds out. And he is the one who gets him kicked out. So you can imagine Escobar's already had a hatred on Galan. So when Galan is officially going to run for president, he's running for president. His platform is, I will bring back extradition. Colombians loved him. Oh, they loved God. We loved him in the United States. Approval rating was 95%. He was going to be the next president. And at this same time, there was a lot of people do not remember or talk about it, but another turning point. There was a newspaper editor in Colombia, Luis Carlos Galan, who had the El Espectador, the leading newspaper in Colombia. And he writes an op-ed piece on a Sunday saying, fellow Colombians, we need to support Galan to bring back extradition. Escobar puts a bomb at the newspaper and has the editor killed. Oh, wow. And you imagine the editor, a famous older gentleman, loved all the reporters loved it. It kills him for writing that op-ed piece. So Galan had a lot of power. People loved him.
Can I just interject? Because I mean, when I
no,
have a question, right? So the lure about Pablo Escobar is amazing, right? I mean, he was like one of the richest people in the world,
right?
The biggest drug trafficker. He's a mass murderer,
right?
And then he was like a philanthropist in some small regard. But there's this lure about him, right?
There is,
and it's amazing because I don't think that people, even myself, I don't think we can really grasp what you and your partner and the rest of the agents went through in Colombia at that time. With this man.
When we end the podcast, I'm going to tell you a little adage on that Robin Hood. Okay, so we'll wait till that. Yeah. But he did. But
looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, it's good. But yeah, going back again to Luis Carlos Galan, when we loved him, and on a Friday night, and I remember I'm at a bar. Of course, Friday night, guys. Come on, of course I'm at a bar. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But I remember the girl, the waitress. Hey, everybody get out of here. They just killed our next president. The government has declared martial law. In my apartment from that bar was about 15, 20 minutes, and I would walk a lot and anyway, it took me 2 hours to get home because of the roadblocks by the military. They've just killed your next president. That night, the elder president, Barca Vargas, he was still the president, but his term was going to end, called up our ambassador and basically says, Mr. Ambassador, my country is tired of Pablo Escobar. I am tired of Pablo Escobar. Look at what he has just done. He has just killed our next president. United States, I need help. And I have just signed a formal decree where I am bringing back extradition. I need help. Wow. So you can imagine, man, we brought in.
To get better.
Oh, yeah. We brought in, I don't know, about 100 TDY agents, and we started extraditing, no problem, cause wherever we caught, illegal searches, whatever, and we were, and who did a great job, the Marshal Service would come in their big 747s, and we were only extraditing one trafficker at a time. Yeah. So we wanted the public to see this. Oh, and they'd be dressed in black, 3 machine guns, knives in their mouths, It was a beautiful sight. So we started extraditing, and that's when Pablo Escobar calls up Barco. Okay, that's when he calls up the new president. They assigned was this guy Cesar Gaviria. Mm-hmm. So they assigned him, and Pablo is the one who calls him up and declares war on Colombia. And that's when we started seeing the terrorism. We started seeing the initiation of terrorism, the car bombs, the assassinations, the bounties, the DOS building bombing, another 170, Avianca. So that's why I said the first part was the worst part in the search for Pablo Escobar.
But how did it affect you? I mean, this dude you're talking about, he had eyes everywhere.
Oh, we were.
How did you? How did you feel secure enough to go out without?
Because we lived with a search block under Colonel Martinez, and we only went out with the cops. The problem was us with going out was being at the wrong place at the wrong time. In this sicarios, we were protected by the police, and they were friends of ours. So when they would kill, I had a lot of my friends killed. When they would kill a friend, I went to a lot of funerals, and we talk about it in the book. We went to a church funeral where we had 8 coffins in the church. I had never seen 8 coffins of police officers that Pablo Escobar killed. So basically it was personal for us, and that's why there was a lot of times.
So he knew your name.
Oh yeah,
I was to him.
Yeah, he knows me because I took his family out of an airplane They got visas to go to Miami, and I took them out. The ambassador ordered me to tear their visas. He knew who I was, and he knew who Murphy was. In fact, we had bounties on us because he would call our names on the phone.
So can I ask,
300,000.
So this was like post Kika Camarena, right?
Yeah.
So did they not want to kill an American agent because of the wrath?
The problem was they didn't care, and when you talk to sicarios, they don't care, So I mean, they wanted to kill us, obviously, and that's why, like I said, we're protected with the police. But we went on operations with them, and we broke policies, rules. We never broke the law, and but it was a personal vendetta. You know what? And Colonel Martinez used to tell Steve and I, he said, guys, we're not here to seize money. We're not here to seize dope. We're here to kill Pablo Escobar. So it was a revenge. And, I say it now. I didn't say it back then, but now, it's like, he's killing all your buddies, all the police officers, and then the innocent people for being at the wrong place at the wrong time. The Avianca bombing, 107 innocent people. He put a bomb in a bookstore where kids and parents were buying their supplies to go back to school. I mean, it was, that.
It's soulless, right?
Yeah, no soul.
But see, I don't think the public really, even in this day, recognizes that sometimes people get so bad, incarcerating them is not enough. You just have to eliminate. You have to cut the head off the snake.
You do what you got to do. In Colombia, like you said, that's why I respected Colonel Martinez. I mean, they knew, and like I said, but all the innocent people. Why? Well, didn't have nothing to do with this at the restaurants and malls, and it got to the point where Colombians weren't coming out on weekends. The malls were empty. Yeah, because and if you talk to any Colombian during that time, they're gonna remember growing up, somebody who got killed, a relative. I talked to a lot of people, and they know somebody, and it was just a bad terrorist. That's why we call Pablo Escobar the inventor of narco-terrorism.
So I wanted to ask you, on that note, he's almost the facilitator of everything we have now going on, right? I mean, I have some names here: Miguel Felix Gallardo.
Those are Mexican.
Amadeo Fuentes. Zambada, obviously Chapo Guzman, Beltran Leyva, the Zetas, all from Mexico. Those kind of organizations didn't exist before. I mean, they did on the weed side, but not really until he kind of got the guy.
And right? Pablo, that you brought that up. The first Pablo, the first war, he was sending dope to Mexico you just mentioned his name, Amado Carrillo Fuentes, el Señor de los Cielos. That was his partnership. They would send it, and the Mexicans would cross it over, and then they would give whatever profits, half of the profits, back to Pablo Escobar. I mean, we were surveilling Mexicans coming into Medellin, and they were all, like I said, I remember Amado Carrillo Fuentes, we were intercepting the coordinates in Mexico where the planes were going to be landing. We had a really crude fax intercept. It was somebody from the spokes from the CIA had set it up for us. It was just the first fax intercept, rudimentary, but we were able to get coordinates. And at this time, Colombians didn't realize that we could do that, and we were intercepting phones, and a lot of them were radio telephones. They were all illegal, right? But we didn't need, like I said, we didn't need no stinking probable cause. Like I told people, we'd pay the phone guy $20 and we'd be up on the wire.
That's your PC, right?
Yeah, that's our PC.
I wanted to ask, with the technology that you know of, because we get older, we're not so savvy of everybody today.
Right.
How much faster would it have been to capture?
Yeah, it would have been a lot faster. The technology, but
half the time, maybe.
Well, less than half the time. I mean, you know, look at all our, you know, not getting to, but
at
you know, the
same time,
technology.
He
Yeah,
would have had it too.
he would have. That's
Yeah.
the other problem, and he
Yeah.
had more money than we did.
Right.
So it's probably been harder. But anyway, we learned, and then the Mexicans later on got smarter in the Colombians, and basically the Colombians got smarter. Said, "Hey, here's a dope. You owe me money," and then it was up to the Mexicans to cross it over. And at that time, it was 70% coming through the southwest border, right, through Laredo, McAllen, and about 30% through the Caribbean, going into the eastern part of the United States. That was basically the figure. So and I have to mention, when Escobar surrenders, and it's not a surrender that we wanted, you know, but basically the thousands of people that are getting killed, right? The hundreds on a daily basis, the car bombs, the Avianca, the DAS. Colombians are tired now, like I said. So Gaviria takes over as president, and Pablo Escobar calls up the president and says, "Mr. President, this is Pablo Escobar." And his first words were, "I am willing to stop my bombing campaign," which was, you know what, and if you're in the president's shoes and you have the biggest trafficker who says, "I'll stop killing all those Colombians," and like I said, 50,000 Colombians, he said, "I will stop killing and I want to self-surrender." Obviously, the president was ecstatic. Wow, what? But then Escobar said, "All right, my conditions are, hold on, I'm going to surrender to my own prison that I will build. And nobody can come and visit, no official inspection. I will bring my own sicarios, that way they can protect me. And I'm going to plead guilty to some bullshit charge." And he ended up plea bargaining for 5 years. And like you said, the main thing is no official inspection, and the government accepted that deal. Obviously, we were pissed. I was pissed. What happened to all my friends that got killed? All the innocent people that were killed.
5 years for all that.
Yeah, right. 5 years. Oh, and there was no talk about taking his assets. He was going to keep everything.
Wow,
Yeah. So
wow.
the guy had to do 5 years. And I remember I was ordered out of Medellin by our ambassador. They didn't want any law enforcement, Paulo. Anyway, so I watched the surrender on television. A yellow helicopter comes in. And you know who gets on the chopper? My favorite Catholic priest, Father Rafael Garcia Herreros. A Catholic priest and Pablo Escobar are the first ones who get on the chopper, and the priest used to have a show in Minuto de Dios where basically he would defend Pablo Escobar, that he was a good person. Why?
Wow.
It's all the money he gave to the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
That was his political campaign, but the Catholic Church, I
There's
mean,
no politics in the church.
yeah, exactly. No politics in the church.
Jesus.
Was behind Pablo Escobar because of all the money. That's where that Robin Hood, comes
Okay.
up.
Okay.
But anyway, it was like devastating
He
to
had
us.
a man of God.
So, yep.
Yep.
So basically, he's in jail, not jail, so-called. We knew it, but you know what? The politics from the Colombians were leave him alone, don't do anything, let him stay in jail.
He'd still leave, wouldn't he?
Huh?
He would still leave, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, let me tell you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's been in jail for about 1 year. And then all of a sudden, we get some information. It was our informant who says, "Hey, you don't believe what Escobar's doing in Medellin." And because we started seeing a lot of killings going on in Medellin, and it was all related to, anyway, two of Pablo Escobar's main lieutenants, Moncada and Galliano, they're the guys who are doing all the dope for him right now. They're childhood friends, they're the lieutenants sending all the dope, and they have a lot of bodyguards. However, one of Pablo's sicarios finds a bag of money that had not been buried properly, about $10 million. So they take it back to Pablo at his prison and says, "Hey, boss, looks what your 2 lieutenants have been holding out on you. They've been cheating you out, boss, because they did not like this 2 lieutenants. Anyway, so Pablo calls them into the prison and basically says, tell them it's a friendly meeting, no security. I don't want any bodyguards, because this guy had tons of bodyguards. Just by themselves, we're going to barbecue, have beers. I want to talk about the girls in Medellin. So they come waltzing in, hey, all happy. Oh, boss, you wanted to see us? Yeah. And Moncada sees the money on the floor, and he knows. He said, boss, he knows right away. It's not what you think. We haven't been holding on you. And pretty much, Pablo's not saying a word. And these 2 guys are talking him down. Pablo kills one of them. The Sicarios jump in. They kill the other guy. And then that night, that's where Pablo has the famous meeting with all his Sicarios. They just wipe out all of their family, all their Sicarios in Medellin. And that's where the bloodbath starts. And that's where we start seeing, man, something's going on. People are killing,
He killed them in the prison.
Yeah, these 2 guys. But then he sends armies to go kill family members, the wives, cousins, and steal all their properties.
That's portrayed in the series.
Yeah,
And he kills, who was the guy's, not Moncada, but the one first. Galliano himself. But it's portrayed in there. And then the Sicarios kill Moncada.
Yeah, it's a bloodbath. Anyway.
Right. And his wife, Moncada, is her name Judy?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll be honest, I take her to Washington. She's supposed to snitch for us, and we drop her off because she has tons of information. She took, we have to buy like 20 plane tickets. They're richer than us. They're richer than the United States. So, but we drop her off on a Friday. In typical DEA, when I don't blame us, hey, it's a weekend, lady, we'll come back Monday so we can start a debriefing.
That doesn't
happen. She was gone. She had a change of heart, went back to Colombia, and she organizes also. There's the main sicario for them, a guy named Don Berna, and he's important because Don Berna loved Moncada and Galliano, and he wasn't at the prison. So Pablo is now trying to kill Don Berna. So Don Berna gets all the traffickers together and forms a hit squad called Los Pepes.
It's portrayed in the...
Yeah. Los Pepes is righteous, it's real. And I know Don Berna, the real guy. I know him. We're not friends. However, he's an informant for the police. And Colonel Martinez tells me, because I said, Colonel, and who's this guy Don Berna hanging out at our base? Yes, he was very distinctive looking, had sort of a limp, bad teeth. Oh, and his limp was because he had been shot by Chicago. But anyway, but he's like a leader, chunky.
Yeah,
so I talked to him, And the actor and the real guy look exactly alike.
Really?
Yeah. When I saw the actor on TV, I'm like, wow. He looks a split an image of Don Berna. Anyway, so Colonel Martinez says, Javier, don't trust him. However, he's been authorized to work as an informant by the Attorney General of Colombia. So the guy was legit working there. So I got to meet him, and Don Berna protected us, me and Steve, a lot of times because we had an 800 number, and we would go out and meet all these informants. And if the police, because the police started getting real busy, we're doing 8 to 10 search warrants a day. So they couldn't protect us. It'd be Don Berna who would protect us with meeting all this new informants. So now I know Don Berna. And that's where I get the accusations, because later on in life, I get accused in real life of being a member of Los Pepes. It was an article written in a U.S. paper, and wow, I got all sorts of problems.
No stress there. Right?
Yeah, no stress there, right? So,
and the series kind of leans towards that.
Yeah, the series portrays me as being dirty, right?
Yeah.
With Don Berna exchanging information, which is not true. But I know Don Berna, and he gave us information, obviously, but with the cops. We'd meet him with the cops, hey, this was going on.
Every day, right? We work with criminals in order to...
Yeah, we worked. He was an informant.
And I've seen...
not signed by us.
Right, and I've seen that kind of happen.
Right.
I never got deep into dope like you guys did.
Right.
I preferred that you just point go to that house.
Yeah,
that's what I
exactly.
prefer.
Yeah,
That was my
yeah.
specialty.
Yeah.
You know, but I do know, and I've heard that some
Yeah,
good
no,
detectives got
Berna,
wrapped up
yeah.
with snitches.
Well,
like
what
that,
happened, and real quick, what happened, Don Berna comes over to work with us with information because they know a lot. You know, I mean, you know, and he is pissed because they killed his two bosses, and Pablo is trying to kill Don Berna. He's their main target because they know Don Berna controls 100 of bodyguards, sicarios for the Moncada Gallano. So Don Berna does something that's kind of unique, and that Pablo hated the Cali cartel. Cali cartel hated Pablo all over turf wars. It was a deadly war. It got to the point where Cali cartel put a bomb at Pablo's apartment building Monaco, it was called, 8 stories. Only Pablo and his family lived in that 8-story building. They put a bomb, and the only person that was hurt was Pablo Escobar's little girl, Manuelita, who's like 6 years old. She's pretty deaf in 1 year. In personal, I dealt with her later on. But anyway, so you can imagine the hatred Pablo had on the Cali cartel. They tried to kill his family. So Pablo retaliated. It was a war.
They called him Pacho.
Yeah.
Pacho.
Right.
He was
Yeah. Yeah, I know who you're talking. Herrera?
Herrera,
Yeah.
Pacho Herrera, yeah.
So now, Don Berna, wow, how did he come up with this one? But he goes to the Cali people, says, hey, we need your help because we need money. We're working with, we had a dirty cop. And not dirty to the point where him and Berna went together to the Cali cartel and says, hey, Cali, you want to have Pablo killed? I said, yep, we need money, we need resources, informants. So Cali cartel hooked up with Don Berna and one of our dirty cops, gave him, I think the total was about $50 million, which they used on. Don Berna started the group Los Pepes, where they were killing a lot of innocent people that were associated with Pablo Escobar. For example, attorneys, teachers that were teaching his kids, whoever they could find that was part of the Escobar group, they were killing them.
Duque.
Yeah, they tie their hands, torture them, and then they would put Los Pepes on a placard. That way Pablo Escobar knew, hey, you're killing our people, we're playing dirty and going after you dirty.
You okay on time? 'Cause I know you.
Yeah, about 10 minutes.
And is Judy involved with the Cali cartel?
Yes, Judy was involved, like I said, in getting the money back to Los Pepes. And one of our officers, who later on, he retired, became a trafficker, and he's dead now. He got killed too. But he was part of our task force. Not knowing at the time, we find this out later. See, that's where my accusations come in. But I didn't know he was dirty until after Escobar gets killed, and was later on we find out, and he gets indicted, but he doesn't make it because he gets killed in Colombia. That's the only black guy with all of this. That one of our officers was involved with Los Pepes. But
Officers of what? Was he a local officer?
yeah, assigned to a search block, and he was a high ranking, not Colonel Martinez, not regular Colombian police officer. And there's a lot of mention out there who he is, which out of respect, I'm not going to mention him, but it's out there. If you look for him, yeah, and that is true. He was killed. So basically, that search and the killing of Pablo Escobar towards the end. See, and Steve comes in at the second search. And like I said, Steve and I hooked up. We teamed up as partners. We're living in Medellin at the behest of the Colombian national government. They invited us. They wanted us there to help them out. And I tell people, by us being there, that exchange of intelligence on a daily basis was primary. That hadn't happened because then we started doing simultaneous operations in Miami, New York, In other words, we were dismantling the whole organization, not just part. We went after the cell heads, the money launderers, the guys who were storing, who were selling on the streets. But it had to be Escobar's people. So we were doing operations in Miami at the same time, in Colombia. That's why we dismantled all of that organization. But however, towards the end, and Pablo was weak because we were arresting, killing. And when I say killing, this guys would come out shooting at us. So there was a firefight. Yeah, they were all justifiable. I mean, Pablo was losing.
Put their hands behind
Pablo did not have the he did not have the cash because we were taking it. We were taking it in the States. We were taking it in Colombia. We started raiding all his financial offices. We were seizing accounts left and right in the United States, all over Europe. We were actually bringing to him. He was on the run. And I tell people now, and I tell towards the end, how many guys did he have left? One guy when he gets killed. In the story, it's a beautiful story in that towards the end, and Steve and I are living in Medellin now, full time, 24 hours. That's why we see our friends get killed. We go out on operations left and right. We're not supposed to, but we did it, But towards the end, Pablo's so afraid of Los Pepes that he's trying to get his family out of the country. And that's where I come in. I'm in Medellin. I happen to be at the airport. I see the family boarding an American airline flight to Miami. So I call the ambassador. The ambassador says, do not let them leave. Tear their visas. So Pablo knows me. Then, towards the end, Pablo puts them on an airplane to go to Frankfurt, Germany, right? And we find out. So this time we put undercover agents, and this time is the first time in history where I actually see the President of the United States, the President of Colombia, and the Chancellor of Germany all do a powwow call. They all get together because it goes up to the highest levels. The United States don't want him to stay in Germany. We wanted him to bring back to Colombia. It was his wife, his kids, his mother, and half of the Germans wanted to give him asylum. So luckily we won. The Germans, it took about a day, says, all right, we're not going to let him stay here, which brings him back to Colombia, in which the end of the story is that we are DFing the phone. And the way he gets caught is that Colonel Hugo Martinez has a son by the name of Lieutenant Hugo Martinez. Same name, right? And Lieutenant Hugo Martinez is the DFing expert, the triangulation expert, and he is self-taught. I mean, they gave him some equipment, but he practiced every night. All right, go talk on the phone. And you know what? And the government of France had donated a DFing van where,
And what is a DF?
It's a triangulation.
Okay.
And it's radio telephones. Like you could buy them at any store, where you say, okay, your signal is getting started.
Right.
And when you see him in the street, he's had to put the antenna up. And when the lieutenant, because they hear the voice, this is Pablo's voice, and the meter is pointing, getting closer and closer. And the lieutenant, tells us that he actually, with the meter and the antenna, he's looking up at a building, at a house, and he sees Escobar on the phone. And that's the real story. So it wasn't CIA, it wasn't DEA, it was strictly a Colombian National Police. Anyway, so the lieutenant calls his dad back at the base. I got him. And the colonel says, wait for the backup. I'll send you, because they, by time,
right.
But by the time they get there, it was about 10 miles away. The lieutenant has about 8 guys with him. So they said, hey, bullshit, we're going in.
Gotta go.
So they go in, they hit the house, and one guy comes out shooting, which is Limon. They kill him, and they go up the house, and Pablo is running. He's on the roof, and they're row houses. So he's on the roof of the house shooting at our 8 guys, and one of our guys was up there in the raid, tells us that he slipped and he actually sees the bullet going by him. By him sleeping, Pablo doesn't kill him anyway. So they're able to shoot him on the roof, and it's about 3 shots. And Pablo, goes down, gets killed, but he gets killed in a firefight with the Lieutenant Martinez's group. So the essence of the story is you had a good guy, father-son group, Colonel Martinez and his son, Lieutenant Hugo Martinez, and bad father-son group. Right. Pablo, who was talking to his son, Juan Pablo. Okay. But in the end, it was a Colombian National Police operation which killed Pablo Escobar. Colonel Martinez is the hero. His son is a hero. General Octavio Vargas Silva. DEA was not there, and Steve shows up. He drives out with Colonel Martinez after Pablo Escobar gets killed. And Steve will tell you in his words, I was not there. That's the only, wow. Because I chased Escobar since 1988. Gets killed December 2nd, 93. And you know why I wasn't there? And then will always stay with me. It always will bother me. But the ambassador had ordered me to go to Miami because there was an informant who called the ambassador who said, I'll only deal with Peña because he had dealt with me before. The guy's name was Navigante. And he's mentioned in the show.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Navigante calls the ambassador and says, I only deal with Peña. But I know where Pablo Escobar is. And he said he's in Haiti. And I tried to tell Mr. Ambassador, sir, we have him located on the phone. He says, Javier, if you don't go, I'll kick you out of the country. So what do you want to do? So the guy, the irony, who tells me Pablo Escobar gets killed, and he's on the phone when I see him. Navigante's on the phone, Javier, they just still look at Escobar. Oh, wow. Oh, man, I didn't even talk to him. I just turned around, got on a plane, and I'm coming back that night, and all the reporters, I see them all, the Univision, Telemundo, U.S. reporters to go cover. So I go there the next day, but Steve was there, and I credit Steve. He took his camera that day. If it wasn't for Steve's photos, none of those photos would exist. Yeah, Steve is, yeah. Book, is it not? It's in the book, yes, sir. And Steve's photos are all over. Nobody else had a photo. Can you imagine that?
Well, you guys really, like when I first got a chance to sit down and actually talk, you're like a terrific guy. And like Willie said, you're a national treasure for DEA. A lot of agents in DEA do great jobs, but you're like a one-of-one. You went after Pablo effing Escobar.
Right. And you know what? And let me just also mention, when we took Pablo Escobar, what happened? The Cali cartel took it over, right? After, you know what? The bombing started. Cali cartel, we went after them. We wiped them out. The North Valley, people took it over, and I'm going to finish but I do want to mention our book, right? Yeah, but let me finish what you started saying. We tell people visit Colombia. It's a beautiful country. It's a beautiful Bogota, Medellin, Cartagena, beautiful cities. Cops are top notch. They're now, like I said, they took their country back. They're the heroes, nobody else. I just want to make that clear. Colombian National Police, led by Colonel Martinez, led by General Octavio Vargas Silva, they are the heroes. If you do go to Medellin, and we encourage you, and Medellin's a beautiful city. It's called the City of Eternal Spring. They have the flower festival of the world. It's one of the prettiest cities in the world. Caveat, I say, is you do not badmouth Pablo Escobar in Medellin, because there's a lot of people think he's that Robin Hood. The number one tourist attraction in Medellin, Pablo Escobar's gravesite.
Wow.
So, and please, if you want to hear more, we wrote a book, Steve and I, Manhunters, How We Took Down Pablo Escobar, written by Steve and myself. And you can find it. We have a website, www.deanarcos.com, www.deanarcos.com, where we have books. You can order them. We also have a speaking business, if y'all ever want to hear those true stories. Steve and I have been about 5 times to San Antonio for gang conferences. We do a lot of, you must have.
I didn't get to meet y'all though at Trinity University.
Right. Oh yeah, we went to Trinity.
First, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I do training, tactical training for the police over there.
Yeah. So we tell the real story.
We both did.
Yeah.
That's Steve. It's
I wanted to mention one other thing.
Yes.
I know we wanted to stay close to an hour. One of our friends, a guy we worked with for a long time, his son is now in the police department too.
Yeah.
You were the ASEC that took over from Milton Shulquist.
Yes. I took over Milton Shulquist, and his son was part of your Wayne, right?
Wayne Shulquist?
Yeah, I met him a couple of times, and then now his son, great officers, great legacy, and like I said, San Antonio Police Department and DEA have always been great partners. We did a lot of great work together. We go back a lot. That's why you all are the heroes, and I'm talking to two real life heroes. You've done a lot. You all have a lot of respect. Your names are famous. So thank you all for being out there. And it's just you know what? And when Netflix real quick called us, we did not want to do the Netflix story. And it finally came out to like, why? I said, we will not do it. Our caveat, you do not glorify Pablo Escobar. They promised us they would not do it. And I think they kept their word, because none of these traffickers should be glorified. I know Pablo Escobar, some people still think he's a Robin Hood.
You're going to have those that watch it that do want to aspire to be a criminal.
Right.
So of course he's gonna be
But
glorified
sooner or later, you know what's going to happen.
No, we're rooting for the good guys,
Exactly.
and they're like
Exactly.
when
You're
they
going to
like
be
that.
in jail, or you're going to end up getting
There's
killed.
never a shortage of someone taking their spot.
No,
Right?
there's always people that want to, like you said, the money. Like I tell this cartels, they don't care who gets killed. As long as they move their dope, that's the only thing that they're interested on right now. Is just moving their dope. They don't care who gets killed. We look at the fentanyl problem we're seeing right now. I mean, it's a deadly poison. Just 1 little milligram of salt is getting people killed. It just goes on and on. And we talk about the medical marijuana. And let me just tell you that the marijuana right now, that THC, is like 25%. That's hurting people. That's I mean, you smoke a joint, you've seen people who are just completely, it's dangerous
But the
out
laws
there.
pertaining it don't
Yeah, the laws.
between
No.
the THC content
No,
of it. It's just
exactly. And
2 ounces of Reggie.
when I was on the job, what is it? The medical, not the synthetic marijuana they used to sell at the
Called the Kush or whatever.
Kush and all that. That was deadlier than people are dying. So there's a lot of bad people out there.
I wanted to mention, and I know that you said it was okay for me to
Yes.
mention it, and we don't have to talk about it because you've been so generous with your time. Willie and I appreciate it so much. But the fact that the current president has now, labeled them as a terrorist.
Yeah, they're
organization.
terrorists. It's about time. It should have been done a lot sooner.
Yeah.
I mean, because this cartels, it's terrorism. They're killing people. They don't care who gets hurt. And you know what? I just heard a comment from the Colombian president right now, saying that the use of cocaine and the use of whiskey there's nothing difference between drinking whiskey and taking cocaine. So that to me was demoralizing. Colombia's the source country, and here we are. I don't know. When we were there, it was great. The liaison, the working together, it's all changing now. And I'm going to end it by saying this cartel wars, it's unique countries working together, exchange that intelligence. Guys, you all been there, right? If you don't get that intelligence, it's not going to happen.
the sharing of
intelligence, and that's what countries need to do. We want to start seeing some results on that these cartels are now terrorist organizations. Thank you again, guys. No, if I can do anything again.
Well, here's something that
Yes.
I think would be a good treat, because we talked about some of our own that to give them a shout out. Milton, God rest his soul, passed during the COVID times.
Yeah, his son Wayne.
We both know Wayne. Wayne's a class ahead of me.
Oh,
you know?
okay.
Yeah, so
Great guy.
yeah,
And now
we
his
were,
son,
we were
right?
partners on SWAT.
You were partners?
Oh, this
man.
dude, I mean, talk about a hard worker.
I've
but
met
we
him.
kept
I
to
wish
so
I would
much
got to
trouble.
know him better.
Yeah, he's a good,
I've met
great
him.
guy.
He's a great guy. Great reputation.
Yeah.
And now his son, or
Oh yeah, right.
is also following in the.
And he got
And look what
injured
happened.
in the line of
Great family
duty.
tree of great cops. I mean,
Right,
absolutely.
right.
Yeah. You mentioned George Fallon.
Yeah, George
We gotta talk
Fallon.
about George Fallon because
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell him, hey, we talked about you.
Yeah, tell him to listen.
The list is long, right?
Fallon-
There's a list. Yeah, Cal Fowler, my buddy.
Cal Fowler, yeah.
who was assigned to DA. Everybody thought he was a DA. Cal was.
Now, Cal forgot something.
I know,
He
yeah.
did too, yeah.
We love Cal. I love him. I see him every other
Richard
weekend.
Moreno.
Richard Moreno.
Manuel Longoria.
Manuel Longoria, great boss. We had a lot of great dealings.
I like Manuel.
Yep. Ortiz, the chief of police. I mean, it
Albert,
goes back.
yes.
Yeah, we had a lot of great relationships.
Perez,
We
Pablo
still do.
Escobar, God rest his
Right.
soul.
But that's the amazing part, that the relationships.
Yeah, right.
You know, sitting guys, but
Right.
guys, and, you know, when we first talked, you know, I know you said
Yeah.
you've heard us, and we've heard
And
you.
it's all we need each other. Like
course.
people, it's like, you know what, we need each other, and there's nobody better, or say no, I'm better than you are. No, hey, this is a
It's always
joint
about the credit,
collective.
though. I mean, if you
Right.
don't care about the credit, you just care
Yeah,
about
yeah. Hey,
what you're
putting the
doing,
bad
mission,
guy
yeah.
in jail and working together. We're all part of the same, you know, and that's what, you know, and this is why that I go back to that sharing of intelligence. Remember before 9/11, nobody was talking, you know, and after 9/11, you better not get caught not sharing intelligence, which is what should be.
Absolutely. We
right.
can still do a better job of that.
We
right?
we can always do
I
better.
just
Yes.
figured out, so it's Manhunters, how we took down Pablo Escobar, Stephen Murphy, and Javier Pena. Please read
Right.
the book. A great story. He just cut into a piece of it.
Right.
It's gracious with your time. Thank you so much. We
Thank you, guys. Yeah, thank
sir.
you.
Appreciate
Thank
that.
you. Oh, and watch the Netflix series.
Watch the
Okay.
Netflix
And
series.
Even though you haven't seen it.
the main question I get asked, and I'm going to be saying is, Javier, did you have those affairs with all those women? I said, of course I did, man. I was ordered by the United States government. I wish that
I know
would
we
have
were
been
trying to
true.
end this, but when I watched the talk, you and Murphy talking to Trinity, they started off with the narco trailer.
Right, the trailer.
And it was funny because Murphy started talking and he
Yeah.
says, "Look, he goes, most of that's Hollywood, but all them scenes with
With
Javier
the sex
and
are all
women,
true.
he's a
They're
whore.
all true.
He's a whore dog.
Yeah. You know what? That, and people start laughing and
Oh, yeah, it was
clapping.
funny,
So
In true
watch
service to
the
your
series.
country, right?
In true story. I was
Did
ordered
what you had to
by the
do.
United States government. I got told. I wish that would have been true. But anyway, guys, thank you again
Thank you.
for inviting me,
So-
and
so
we
nice to
appreciate
have you.
it.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
guys.
Thank you.
All right.